All right, what I want to talk about is your ability to continue to be able to segment and sequence when you're doing high intensity or stressful activities. And I think this is something that I've been experimenting with for a while, and something that I got away from for a little while, like the past 5, 8, 10 months maybe. And these are little things that I'm noticing as I start to work some of it back in. And so specifically with sequencing or segmentation, what it is your ability to fire certain musculature or move certain joints at exactly the time you want. And what happens when we're not able to sequence is that different muscles or different areas or different joints move when we don't necessarily want them to move. And usually that happens, it's going to happen more and more under higher levels of stress, right? So a way to actually train this is in this specific move. I did this for 3 minutes straight. So the intent was arm up at shoulder height, and it was drive back into the rope. And specifically I wanted to use the tricep to drive back into the rope. And the intent was to the intent was to move the elbow joint with the tricep, to drive with the tricep, and then to hold the shoulder up cleanly, right? And then everything else stay relatively out of it or loose or relaxed or exactly how I'd want to feel. Like it was almost like the feel was almost if I was to, let's say I was to be throwing or serving a tennis ball or spiking a volleyball or doing something like that where I'd want the torso to be relatively like loose, right? That was the feeling that I was going for here while just using that tricep and just using the shoulder to be able to hold the position. And so what happens here is at the start, like if we go back to like fairly early on, I'm able to hold that fairly cleanly. So I could drive with the tricep and I could hold up with the shoulder. As it starts to fatigue, what happens is the muscles, the tendons, all the tissue that's there that was able to support it at the start, that starts to fatigue out, and then other muscles around it want to take over. And so literally it'd be like in this instance, let's say shoulder fatigues out, and so lat wants to turn on and take over. Tricep fatigues out, and so your bicep wants to contract to try to hold it and try to keep it in place, right? What happens is if we allow that to happen, or to whatever gradient level we allow that to happen, we essentially are lowering degrees of freedom and lowering our ability to sequence how we want in that higher level of stress. If in the opposite instance or opposite example, we were able to hold that shoulder up in the way that we want without everything else tensing up, so like without the lat tensing up, without the torso tensing up, without the jaw tensing up, without the like opposite hip tensing up, without the bicep tensing up. If we're able to do that without all of those tensing up, then what we're doing is we're training ourselves to be able to sequence, like coordinate in high levels of stress, so that literally you can keep the torso, you can keep everything else relaxed as you're able to utilize specifically the musculature that you want at those joints. And so if you take that then into like your ability to simply move as an athlete, as a human, whatever, like let's say you're going to throw, if we want to be able to not like tense up and have everything be tight and we want to be able to sequence our rotation, right? Like segment our rotation, we want to be able to use those in high levels of stress without everything else contracting. So that's my point, is this is a way to train our ability. And I'm not saying the goal of this isn't to train to be a better thrower, right? Or a better tennis server or a better sprinter or whatever it is. The goal is purely to train yourself to be able to to be able to move and segment and utilize your musculature, utilize your body in the way that you want in high levels of stress. So it's like not going into fatigue, not allowing the rest of the muscles to tense up. And the reason that I wanted to put this out is because it's like, make it real what it means to be able to train and learn how to coordinate and segment. And that's what it means. It's like if you want to hold up with specifically the shoulder and then with the tricep, we continue to utilize that and you actively relax, like you go into the tissues that are trying to contract as it starts to fatigue, you go into those and you actively relax those. And what will happen is like you'll use different areas of the tricep, use different areas of the shoulder that you haven't used before, and you'll be able to utilize that more fully while the others are able to stay relaxed. Like you can see here, it was shaking. Like by the end, I wasn't able to drive back with the tricep. I was pretty much holding the arm up. But as I was doing that, it was like jaws attempting to stay relaxed. The rest of the body is staying relaxed. Breath is like I'm allowing my breath to flow, kind of like soft focus type thing, when in everything except that shoulder and tricep. So it's not the only way to do it. This isn't the only exercise that I'll do for this. But this is the concept and what I felt with this tonight and the benefit that it could have in terms of being able to control yourself, segment yourself, coordinate yourself in high levels of stress.